Anissa.
I'm Sophie Hannah.
And I'm Luanda Yasmin. Welcome to the 29th episode of Ethnically Speaking, the show where we discuss everything and anything affecting the UK's highly melanated communities, from current affairs to pop culture and everything in between. 2021 has arrived. So from everyone here at Ethnically Speaking, in front of the camera and behind it, we just wanted to wish you all a very happy new year. So whether you're getting off to a fresh start or you're still recovering from yesterday, we've got you covered, because we will be talking all about everything to do with New Year's resolutions and whether or not the high street has longevity and if you should be starting your YouTube in 2021. So Anissa, start us off.
Okay, so maybe you're staying in or maybe you like to go out, but as a society, why do we make it such a big deal about New Year's Eve?
Do you know what? I think one of the reasons why is because we like that idea of newness coming. Do you know what I mean? Like, it feels like there's this brand new thing is coming. And even though I guess mostly it's like a mental thing, because literally if it's on a Saturday, the next day is going to be Sunday, like it has been Sunday every other day after Saturday. But there's just something that feels like we're starting something brand new. And I think everyone likes the idea of like a new beginning. But I think there's also the idea that it's a celebration as well. Like, everybody loves a celebration, and New Year's is just another chance to kind of get in on that celebration, to have a good time, to be festive or whatever. So yeah, I think that's the reason why as a society we're just so obsessed with New Year's.
Well, I read a really interesting article on a website called Psychology Today, and they suggested that our need to celebrate New Year's is related to our primal instinct of survival. They said that, we measure 365 days in chronological order, and the celebration is not really like bringing in the new year. It's because we need to recognize the fact that we survived the one that just happened. And I just thought that was really, really interesting. But, through the lens of capitalism.
We're starting off the New Year strong, obviously.
If we're being honest, though, I think that when we put this kind of pressure, we put this pressure to celebrate, and we make these holidays meaningful because we want people to like join the scramble to not be left out. And we all know like how the prices go up in New Year's. Like, your New Year's taxi is going to be more expensive, and your New Year's ticket is going to be more expensive. So like through that lens, it is just another way of like us being able to spend our money. Otherwise, I think the pressure probably wouldn't be on the type of New Year's celebrations that you have, because people want you to go to the club and want you to be drinking champagne and want you to buy a glittery dress. And I realized that, this New Year's, for obvious reasons, is going to be the first New Year's that I haven't gone out since I was 18. So every year I've been doing that. I've been getting the New Year's tickets and buying something glittery and going out. And I think that kind of plays into why we are made to feel like we should be doing something, because it keeps, the money going round as well.
I can't believe you've been out every year since you were 18.
Well, I was
like, you've not taken one break? No, just like honest question.
I didn't go out 0 to 17 though, so I stayed on 0 to...
Oh, so you're making up for it.
Yeah. Do you know what? I will not penalise you for that.
Yeah, because all my friends were going to house parties when I was 15, 16, 17 to bring in the new year, and I just stayed with my family. So when I was 18, I was like, this was
never
fun.
Again.
And
why do you make it sad?
We had Christmas, so.
Has your New Year's ever lived up to like the expectation of it? Like, since you've been doing it since you're 18, has it always been the best bringing to the New Year's, or have you felt disappointed by it?
Ironically, 2020's New Year's was the best New Year's I've ever had. It was the best. And it was kind of like, I don't want to be like, oh, it was a movie, but
it was a movie.
It was a movie. It was like, it was one of those very perfect nights where, you know, everyone is getting along with everyone, like all the interactions that we had, even if they were on accident, they were fun and they were good. And it was just really perfect because I started off at work and my manager was really sweet. He let me drink at work. So we were all drinking. We all opened some bottles and we were drinking at work. And then, one of my close friends came to meet me, and then it was the best. It was literally the best night to bring in the worst year.
So basically, we're dealing with the consequences of your New Year's.
Yeah, I
Your
had
New Year's
to
was so
even
great.
it.
We've had to suffer entire 2020. Let's just make that very clear. No problem. 2021. I hope you had a rubbish New Year's.
Don't
Luanda,
say
2021
that.
can be even better for the rest of us.
Stop it. I still have plans. I'm still sad. I really like New Year's though. Like, I know I said the thing about capitalism, and I recognize that, it plays a part in all of our holidays, but I really like New Year's. And so I'm still going to celebrate it. I'm just not going to be out.
But you see, that feeling that you were talking about, Loranda, your last New Year's, I think that's what a lot of people feel. They're almost like chasing that high of New Year's. Do you know what I mean by that? Like, they want that epic moment. Now, personally, for me, I think I mix bag it every couple of years. Sometimes I go out, sometimes I stay in. But when I go out, I never actually go out to the club because I can't deal with the crowds and standing in a line in the cold. It's just not for me. So I'll go to more like house parties and things like that. But I try not to do anything for New Year's. I've been quite intentional about that for the last couple of years because I don't like all the pressure and the angst that is just put on this one solid night. Like, it has... Like, the pressure's like, it has to bang. It has to bang. And it's so much pressure. It gets into your head. You can't even think, am I having a good time? I don't know. Like, what it's personally too much for me. And the reason why is because it's meant to feel like a release, but almost like a rebirth all at the same time. Like, it's releasing you from whatever crap happened to you this year that you didn't like, but rebirthing you into something nice, new and shiny as you walk into the new year, more confident, more happy, just more everything. And that's like a very tense moment to have all in one night. So for me, I just stay home and I watch TV. I don't even go on social media because I don't want to see the Happy New Year's, nothing. I stay home, stay off social media, watch TV. I don't even have a drink. I just treat it like every other night.
Do you know what? I think that's really funny considering how much you love Christmas. And then like a week later, you're like, nothing is going on. I will not celebrate this holiday. But I think I was reading an article and it was saying that most people feel the way you do, Anissa. And I felt that as well, like really let down by it. And they're saying like from the studies that they did, the majority of people had a better time if they just stayed at home and celebrated it because the pressure to have a good New Year's is so high. And for me, my worst New Year's was a few years ago, and I was supposed to go to this rooftop party in Brixton. I don't go raving anymore, but I'm like, it's a rooftop. It's going to be like a celebration. And I haven't been raving in years and years and years. But the way they sold it was like, it's going to be food. There's going to be like a nice vibe. People are going to be chilling, blah, blah, blah. It was just a lot of very, very drunk people, like drinks spilling, people stepping on my toes. I'm like, I'm just not used to that anymore because I haven't been doing that kind of whole scene. And then it was the reason why I went because Fat Man Scoop was going to be there. And I was just kind of like, oh, this is cool. So I went along to that. But then when he came out, he had a set because they were like, come see Fat Man Scoop. Like that was the whole selling point. And then he done like a 10-minute set, 20 minutes maximum for the whole night, just at New Year's, and then went off just afterwards. And he played the oldest soundtrack ever, like from when I was about 12, 11. I'm like, most of the people don't even know what these songs are, like some very, very old school, like rap and stuff. And then me and Jonathan literally stayed, kissed at midnight, and we're like, you ready? You ready? And we just went home. Sat down, had a takeaway, and I'm just like, yeah. And then we had to walk from the station because the cabs were so much and it was only black cabs around my home. It wasn't the best. So I think I'm here for like the at-home, sit down, watch a TV marathon, like a Marvel marathon. That's what I do. Have some good takeaway and just chill.
So I'm not going to let you do Fat Man Scoop like this, okay? Were the old hip-hop songs or whatever songs he played, were they like nostalgic songs? Did they used to really go off in his day?
Look, let me just say, yeah, I love old school R&B. Like, I have my family laughs at me because I'm basically in a time warp for music. Like, I really only listen to the music from my gen, like from when I was growing up. So I have not an issue, but he was playing some old school rap that was like niche. I'm just like, fair. And I'm fine with it because I know it, but I think everyone else was kind of like, what?
What's some more commercial stuff?
It was no commercial. He was playing like hardcore old school rap. And I'm wow, we're doing that tonight? And because it's Brixton, Brixton is gentrified to the most. So it was majority white people there, very few black. I'm like, you're playing to the wrong crowd. He was obviously there to get a check. I'm not lying to you guys. He put in a USB and then just started playing the tracks. There was no decks, I was just like, guys,
he was scratching on the
£100 per
decks
ticket because we bought them late, and I was just like, nah, this was a letdown.
Oh
yeah,
man.
that for £100 fair. I'm not gonna lie to you, girl.
I think it's like ironic that we're talking about, you know, the pressure of New Year's making the night bad, because after we had the, you know, literally the best New Year's bringing in 2020, because we went to like a big rave, but you know, when just like small things just line up and work out for you, like there was a huge queue, but we managed to like sneak our way in seconds before the countdown and just things like that. So it was just really, really good. But then my friends, because we all had such a good time and we like merged like 3 friendship groups together, the friendship group that was closest to me, they were like so adamant on trying to recreate that night, because they were like, wow, this was great. Because for me, like I feel like I'm towards the end of my raving career. I've had a good run. And you know, after I've had such a bang in 2020, I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to move with you, Anissa. I'm going to move to the house parties with you because I love a house party.
Same.
I'm at the end of my raving career, but a couple of my friends, it was like their first one, and because it was such a good night, they just wanted to rave again, and so they kept being like, let's go, when's the next rave, let's go to this one. They invited me out to a rave and I was like, guys, I can't go, I've got work, so I'm just gonna, you know, go to bed. They had a terrible night, they had a worst night, and they had the worst night ever, and we still talk about it. So I think there is definitely something about like putting pressure on, this has to be good and this is going to be good, that makes it bad. When if we kind of are a little bit more relaxed, like, you know, I hope it's good, but if it's not, then it's not, you know, the end of the world, it's just another night, then I think you have more of a chance to like enjoy yourself.
Yeah. I definitely want that movie moment that you speak about, Luanda. I just don't want all the pressure. Like, it would be like the most ideal New Year if I could feel like I was dancing into a better tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Just carefree and my life's about to be amazing. Like, I would love that feeling. I just cannot take the physical pressure of it all. And like Sophie, I don't mind being around drunk people, but like the idea of doing that on New Year's isn't really for me. But when I was really thinking about why people make such a big deal about New Year's, it really touched my mind that sometimes I think it's a bit of a cultural thing. So when I'm even thinking about New Year's, not our specific New Year, but if you're thinking about like Chinese New Year, that is like the biggest celebration like in China, and they have great traditions. Everyone, listen, I want their traditions. Everyone gets a little red envelope with the money. Like, that's my bag. And so for them, it's important because it's about like honoring their family and their ancestors and their gods. And so it's like a massive deal to them. And so when I thought about it, I thought, okay, culturally, I guess it's kind of like Christmas, Easter, and everything wrapped up into one. And maybe for people, they see, I guess, the more Western New Year's a little bit like that as well. And maybe that's why it's such a big deal to them.
I think that cultural angle is so important, because I think merging together what you said and what Luanda said, because Luanda talked about it from the capitalism point of view, and you're talking about it from like the cultural point of view, and just thinking about when we take away all the, you know, the need to spend money on making the night good, and look at what different cultures have really thought what the new year meant and represented to them. So they're saying the Jews would see it as a time to offer forgiveness because it's a New Year's. Like Babylonians would then go and return things, anything that they've borrowed throughout the year. And people had all these really lovely traditions. Like they said, the Dutch cook donuts because the donut represents wholeness, and now you're starting whole again into the new year. So I think it also gives us time to really think about, I guess, symbolically what it's about, and not just the good time which we're just really all hoping to have.
I hear that. I will like to say, like, even though like 2020 was fantastic, 2016 New Year's was the worst time of my entire life. And I don't want you guys to,
we're going through your greatest hits of New Year's.
Like, it's not good every time. Like 2016, we were sold lies, and I'm still upset about it 5 years later now. But because we you know, when someone gives you the advertisement of what like a rave is going to be, and they give you like that little movie, they kind of make a movie of how it's going to look, the little trailer for the rave.
Yeah.
It was all lies. And it was the worst night ever. And Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Do you know, I've never had a bad New Year's, but I think it's just because I've never put myself in a position to have a bad New Year's. So I could hand on my heart and just say I've always had a good one. Whether it's been at a house party, whether it's been with family, whether we went to church, like everything has always been fine for me.
That's
Touch
nice.
wood, wherever wood
So
is.
you're saying
and
New
keep
Year's
going.
Eve is all about setting the right expectations?
I think so.
Okay.
I feel like I don't know if I should have the final word on that, but yeah, I think so. I think so. I'll definitely agree with that. So as we've kind of been talking about through this chat, for many people, the new year is seen as a promise. It comes to improve various aspects of your life, and it also gives you a renewed focus on pursuing your goals. Do you guys think, though, that is New Year's resolutions effective? And have you made any resolutions this year? If so, what are they? And has the unexpected event of 2020 impacted your goals and aspirations for your life this year?
I do something a little bit different when it comes to New Year's resolutions, because the first thing that I will do before I make any resolutions is that I will make a list of all of the things that I have achieved in the year. And I will kind of like either go through my emails or go through my camera roll from January to December and just look at every little thing that I've achieved and kind of write that down as a list, and then have a moment of gratitude for those things. Because I think for us as humans, say us, yeah, everyone, we kind of have the habit of only looking forward and not appreciating what we've had. And so obviously when it comes to New Year's, it's like, oh, New Year's resolution. It's like, what are you going to fix? What are you going to change? What more do you want? But we're not appreciating all of the things that we've already gained. And even I think most of the times when I do it, I kind of surprise myself with how long the list is, because we kind of don't think about our own achievements, or there are things that we've achieved that we didn't celebrate. And so it take a minute to celebrate all of those things first before I'm ever thinking about what else do I want, you know?
Oh, I really love that, Luanda. I feel like I'm going to definitely steal that idea. Because
I encourage everyone.
I really love that idea, because you were saying that people look to the future and look to the past, but I think also a lot of people don't look to the present as to like actually what's good now, like right where I am. So I think in terms of New Year's resolutions, I think there's so many things. Well, I think I used to be one of those big New Year's resolutions types of person. Now, not like really strict, but I'd be like always, oh, I'm going to lose some weight this year, and I'm going to do this year, I'm going to do that this year. And this year, since last year, I think just kind of really stripped it back. And there's something that a Forbes article said is like, maybe look at things that add more value or align with your values rather than things that you think that you should be doing. So for me, it's going to be like, I want to be much more health conscious this year, and I'm going to do Veganuary and go vegan for January.
So
and I also want to get a dog this year. That's one of my New Year's resolutions. And I think also to really, in my career, focus on things that I'm really passionate about, and to be kinder to myself. And just to allow myself to kind of be human more. So those would be my New Year's resolution for this year. And it's really supporting areas of growth where I want to have. And I felt like that's worked better for me than in past years when it was like this, and this. And then I'm like the 83% of people that fall off by, the end of the month.
Sophie, those were actually really lovely ones. I'm not going to lie. I like the being kind to yourself more. That really touched my heart. I'm not a New Year's resolutions person. It's just not my bag. And I never really have been. I think I tried once in primary school, but like, you're a kid, so you don't stick to anything. So I'm not a New Year's resolution person. I like the idea of this list, Luanda, because I don't do things like that either. But I like the idea. I don't know if I'll actually action it.
I appreciate your honesty, friend.
Yes, because I really like the idea of taking that moment of gratitude. But for me, it's like, I know I probably won't do it, because I do like the idea of a new year and setting goals. I like the idea of it. I just don't think it's actionable for me. And I think that's just like the way that I live my life, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm the type of person who hates the question when someone asks me, oh, where do you want to be in 5 years? What's your 5-year plan? I hate that question. I absolutely hate that question. Full stop, bold, underline, exclamation point. I hate it. Period. Like, I hate it, okay? And so I hate when, like, whenever you're, like, doing something with your manager, like, what do you see for 5 years? It's just kind of like, I don't want to say that I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, because I don't ever think things in life are final. And I just want to be so open that I'm not even putting the expectations out there. So I don't really have New Year's resolutions. But so that kind of leaves my question for you guys who may have set resolutions. Do you actually think they're effective, like setting resolutions?
Yeah. So so with me and resolutions, where I'm at now is when I was younger, I used to be similar to you, Sophie, and I kind of just used to, write down things that I wanted. But now that I'm older, I kind of only will set goals for things that I know that I can do for myself, if that makes sense. So I'm thinking whatever I can do for me, I'm going to make that goal. But then the way that I work it through the year, because like Sophie said, like, the majority of people who set New Year's resolutions fail at them by the end of Jan or the end of Feb, I will break my goal down into months and then have a checklist per month that I would look at on the first of every month, if that makes sense. So if it's like the 1st of December, I will look at the list and it will be like, did you do this, this and this and this month? And I can tick it off and then I'll come back in a month. And then by the end of the year, you've actually done your New Year's resolutions, because you're not taking it, oh, it's the New Year, it's 1st of January, I'm going to do all of this, and you forget about it. You're working it into your everyday routine, but you're doing it in bite-sized chunks. And by the end of the year, you've achieved a lot of things.
See, I like that approach, taking lots of little steps instead of one big step.
Big one, yeah. Because it's like, even what you said about healthy eating, Sophie, it could be like, there's a lot of pressure to be like, I'm going to change my whole diet, I'm going to eat healthy. Why don't you, people could, you said you're going to start with veganuary, which is fantastic. But like in general, because this is a very common one within our society, people could, say, I'm going to learn one new recipe a week or a month, which is going to have, this much nutrition or this much nutrition. And then by the end of the year, it's so, ingrained in you, and it's a routine for your groceries, and you're used to cooking it. And it's just like, oh, I've been eating so much healthier, instead of, going out with your friends and beating yourself up because you had a slice of cake at the end of the meal. So I just think it works a lot better in terms of being kinder to yourself. It helps with that as well.
I think that's so true, because I read this article and it was talking about how most people fall off with New Year's resolutions. And I think one thing that you said, honestly, people be more successful with it, Luanda, because you're talking about you make it bite-sized. But I think sometimes people make it so big, like you say, making these really massive changes. But this article, what I loved about it is that it was talking about, let's just look at really small things you can do. So it was saying like you're saying, learn one new recipe a month, or make sure you go out for 10 minutes sort of walk every single day, or make sure that you call people instead of texting them the next time you pick up the phone, and commit to calling one person. And just little things that actually make a difference to your life, but aren't going to be making you feel that you need to make these massive changes, because change usually takes time. So I don't know if New Year's is the time to be like, I'm going to change everything about my life. I just don't think it's realistic.
Same, I agree. I think it's just unrealistic to think that you're just gonna magically break these habits. So it's definitely the idea of the bite-sized chunks. But even thinking about that with like things that you said maybe you want to do this year, do you think like 2020, obviously the crazy that has been the COVID, do you think that's impacted kind of what you said, what you thought, what you're gonna do this year, what you want to do this year?
Well, I want to answer that one because I have a lot to say to it. But I remember at the beginning of 2020 and at the end of 2019, my years are just getting all messed up, guys. But at the beginning, end of that kind of overlap, don't you remember people were going insane on social media? Like, it's the new decade. I'm going to do this. 2020, what does that mean? And I was just like, I couldn't understand the hype. And then COVID happened and so many plans just went awry. But I still found so many things to be grateful for this year. Things that were just unexpected, bad and good, but have just made me feel like 2020 is memorable for so many different reasons. So number one is being on this show. Like, I never thought that I would be on a show like this. It's kind of like my dream show, to sit and talk with other women, other ethnic women, and to talk about issues that are going on in the world. Got my first house with my husband, like had time on furlough to really rethink my career and like, okay, where am I going now? What do I want to do? Having that moment to kind of pause and sit down and think. So I think even in all my family made it to the end of the year, God willing. Like, you know, we still got, yeah, all of them made it. A lot of people's family didn't make it.
Yeah.
And for me, 2020 still brought so many blessings that I'm really appreciative of. So I don't think it was a total waste.
I don't think so either. I kind of have, I know I've been making my 2020 jokes, but I actually have quite a positive outlook on the year, because if anything, everyone's been able to have, you know, the reflection that we need, even at the beginning of lockdown, when everything was so still and so many things started changing so quickly within the environment, because we weren't driving cars, or because, you know, we weren't doing the usual everyday pollution that we were doing. And on a personal level, everyone's been able to step back and look at, you know, what do I actually want to do? I mean, we spoke about, again, that woman who took a 40 grand pay cut to do the thing that she wants to do, because people are now actually putting their happiness first, because they've had time to think about what makes me happy. And when you've had time away from the things that are your routine, you get a moment to say, do I want to enter back into that, or am I ready for something new? And sometimes so many people are ready for things to stop, and so many people are ready for things for a change, but life can't just stop when, you know, if you have children, or if you have rent to pay, and if you have to buy food to feed yourself, like, it can't just stop. So the fact that it did, like, the whole world was at a halt, and then everyone got to think, what direction are they moving in next? Like, that is the thing that I'm most grateful for as a whole that's happened this year. Obviously, despite the way that it came about.
Yeah, I definitely think it's hard for 2020 to have not impacted anybody's like life or goal, and whether that be in a good way or a bad way. As you said, Luanda, like, it gave a lot of people that stillness to think. And obviously Sophie had just a great year, great blessings and all that fun stuff. I was thinking about my 2020, and I feel like to say it was a great year is a stretch. To say a good year is like a question mark. And so it was like, I think it was just a year. I don't know how to make that make sense. So for that, it has, I guess, impacted what I've wanted to do for 2021. But just in, I guess, a little bit more what you said, Luanda, just me having that stillness to really think, what is it that I want to say by the end of 2021? Like, I feel like I did everything I had to do in that year. Like, what would be the thing for me? And so it just makes me think, like, what do I want to achieve in my life? And I'm still thinking about that.
This is why I talked about the bite-sized chunks, because I don't think it should be more about what have we achieved. As in, like, oh, I had that one thing and I'm holding on to that one thing. We want to have a good experience consistently. And that's why I said I will go to it the beginning of every month and be like, have I been keeping up with this? Check. Next month you come again, because we have the whole year. And if you have like a terrible year emotionally, but you achieved the 3 things that you want, to me, it's not worth it. Like, it's not worth losing yourself. You need to be able to ask yourself, instead of what do I want to achieve, you should be probably asking yourself, how do I want to feel?
Yeah, I think it depends though, because I'm not thinking about achieved of like, I want to buy a house or buy a car or learn to ride a bike. Like, do you know what I mean?
You can't ride a bike?
I can't, and we're not going to get into this right now. We will not get into
when
this.
The show ends.
Yes, we will do that later.
No, we need to find a way to bring that on the show.
Yeah, we will talk about that another day.
Do, but maybe now's not the right time.
Yes, not the right time. But the point is, yes, we will circle back. The point is, for me,
I didn't even get it. Cycle back.
It wasn't even intentional. I said circle, but I'm gonna pretend.
But you said
it was right there. It was right there.
It was.
But yeah, for me, it's like, that's why I said I don't really set resolutions. But like, at the end of 2020, I sat there and thought, throughout the whole year, the one thing that I'm glad that I said that I had gone through the whole year with is that I maintained good relationships with my family and my friends. Like, I just want one thing to be proud of. It's not something that I have to like write on a board and check. It's just knowing that I am, I guess, just actively working, growing. And when I look at the end of the year, I can say, wow, I did grow in this area. If that makes sense.
Do you know what I think? I think that's so important, Anissa, because I think at the moment as a society, the New Year's resolutions that we generally focus on, so not everybody, but generally is what can I kind of hold in my hand type thing. Do you know what I mean?
This is what I'm talking about.
What sort of person am I going to be?
Yes.
And I think that that's something that I can definitely improve on regardless of what is happening in the year, because at the beginning of the year, January 20th in 2020, should I say, in 2020, January 20th, my husband's dad died suddenly. We knew that he was sick like 3 weeks before, and then he died suddenly. And on the same day, I was told that I was possibly going to be made redundant from my job. And it was horrible. Like, as many good things have happened, not knowing where I was going to work. And then COVID happened, and it was kind of like, oh my days, like everyone's going to be looking for a job. What does this mean for me? Like, what does this mean? What's going to happen to our future? Like, we didn't even know if we were going to be able to buy our home, because I'm like, if I can't prove that I've got wages for the past few months, it's not going to happen. Then it's based off our combined income. Like, all these different things that will happen. And I think by the end of 2020, I saw the personal growth in myself as a human being. I saw that actually I found strength, and this is linked to my Christianity, but I found strength that I never thought I had, and a reliance and a faith that I never had at the beginning of the year, because I'm a worrier, I'm a natural worrier. And to see at the end of the year, I'm just like, you know what? I don't know how things are going to be okay, but they are going to be okay. Like, I don't know how, but if I could start January 20th being told I was going to be made redundant, and I still had a job and a wage in November, then somehow everything is going to work out. And I think that's the things that I really want to focus on going forward in any other year, of like, how am I growing as a person? Because I don't know how I could be out of a job and my family's like, I've never seen you happier than you are now. And it's making me emotional, guys. But just the idea of like, I don't have to be held by what's going on in my life or how crappy things are, because 2020 has been crappy on so many different fronts, but I can still look and say, actually, there were some good things that really made it worthwhile.
Ooh, Sophie, that touched me. Glory be to God, hallelujah. I felt it, honey. I did. I loved it. I felt that on a deep level, Sophie. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really did. It really touched me.
So, on that note, guys, we're at the halfway point for today's show, which means we're going to give you a quick moment to rest, recuperate from those celebrations that you probably had last night. And while you're doing that, press that like button, press that subscribe button, so you don't miss a single thing that we're bringing to you throughout 2021. It is now the first day of 2021, so we've been talking about all things New Year's on today's show, from celebrations to resolutions. But now, ladies, I wanted to talk about some things that didn't make it into the new year, because 2020 also saw a lot of casualties, including department store Debenhams and Arcadia, which is the umbrella group that owns brands such as Topshop, Dorothy Perkins, Miss Selfridge, and many other popular retailers. Now, those two big retailers both went into administration, and it really made me think, are we witnessing the death of the high street, and what is that going to even mean for our future shopping habits?
Yeah, it's such a tough one. I think when I saw Arcadia go down, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're going down, because they're like such a retail giant. So that was a bit of a shock. I won't lie, I was one of those people when they told me Topshop was going in administration. I was on that website, honey, in the sale, just getting everything I could, because I thought, what if they don't make these jeans anymore? So I was in a bit of a fluster. Now, do I think we're seeing the death of the high street? I don't know if I want to call it a death, but I definitely want to say there is a decline. Now, I worked in retail for a very long time. So obviously I got my first retail job when I was 17. And then I think I stopped my last retail job maybe when I was about 21. But then I went to my first corporate job was in the head office of a retail company. So then it was kind of like I was still thinking retail, but I wasn't just on the shop floor. And so whilst being there and being retail for many years, I have seen a steady decline. I will not lie. online. And whilst working in the office, we were always worried about numbers because you just couldn't make the same amount of money that you were making last year. Like you would just never hit budget. But I don't think it's a death, as I said. I think, like, I was reading an article and it said that really retail stores have been declining over the last century, so it's not really a new thing. And it made me really think about, I guess, how we used to shop, or not, let me not say me, but how they used to shop many moons ago, because they didn't have all these like big shopping centres and Westfields and like a big West End. Like, you know, you had a lot of your local places, or a lot of places used to deliver. Like, as I was told, a lot of people had milkmen and like orange juice men, and so like a lot of things were being delivered.
You don't remember milkmen? You don't remember the milkman?
That was not my time, so that's why I said that it's not. I hate to say, it just wasn't my time.
No, it just makes. I'm just realizing how quickly things move on, because I guess I must have been about 5 or 6, so it does make sense.
Yes,
but I'm
exactly.
like, wow, okay,
and that's almost like my point, Sophie, is that the way that we consume things or buy things changes, and I don't think it's smart for retail to exist on one single model of the high street. And so when I was working in retail, the big thing that we tried to do in the company to make it more sustainable, it was diversify our kind of retail channels. And so there was a big focus on e-commerce and getting online, because it was just, it's not smart to have one single model. I think you need a few things to keep the high street going, whether it's delivery and the store, you know, brick and mortar, and then also your e-commerce. I think you have to diversify, because the way that we are consuming things as people is changing, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Do you know what? I was so surprised when I saw that Topshop was going to end. I thought never in my lifetime am I going to see the end of Topshop, just because it's always managed to keep a focus on the young girl. Do you know what I mean? So the young girls are always coming up. There's always going to be a new crop of teenagers to 20s or whatever who are going to be their major market. So for me, it's just mind-boggling. But as you were saying, Anissa, evolve or die. Like, I think some people are really sad, or they're really talking or complaining about the death of the high street, but you evolve or die. Things change. And so it makes me think about Sir Philip Green as well, in regards to what you were saying, Anissa, because he was famous for saying that he never thought that bricks and mortar would die. Now, he's the owner of the Arcadia Group and Topshop. So when ASOS was coming, when Boohoo, Pretty Little Thing, he refused to move along with the times and really make a good user experience. And now these things have just come and overtaken him. So I think it's evolve or die. And that's not a bad thing. Like we're saying, things change. Like, you might have had the milkman, but now they're saying actually there's a faster system that is going to happen this way, where we don't use as many bottles or whatever it is. And I think that the death of the high street is really going to allow us to have a chance to evolve into something else, like our city centres into something else. So I don't want us to look at it as a time to really complain about what's going on at the high street.
Right. I didn't even think about, you know, what else could the city look like if we had something other than high street shops. But that's a really interesting thought. I think for me, that if the majority of stores go online, I think that shopping, this is just a theory, might become like a luxury experience, and it might be something for like the middle class or the upper class, where you know how we're talking about okay, we do stream movies online, and that's probably the most common thing that we do now, but we go to the cinema for an experience, and that's why we don't want the cinema to die, but that's why the cinema prices are going up. So with shopping, it will probably be that the upper class people were able to go into stores, and you get to look at the clothes, you get to try them on before you buy it, and maybe like trying clothes on before you buy them will become like a staple moment of your social status, because you can actually go into the store and then put it back if you don't like it, instead of like having we have this really moody delivery guy who never smiles when when he delivers to us, and all of us are really friendly. So there was a delivery today, so I got my keys and I went to the door, and then my mum was like, no, I'll get it. It's Mr. Sunshine. And I was like, yeah, I know exactly who it is, because he's always at our house, but he always does this. He's always like grabs delivery and he's like, and then we're like, do you need a signature? And he's like, And so it's so, I don't know. I mean, I understand. For me, it's like, it's not because of COVID. He's been covering me before COVID. It's not the distance, it's the attitude and the never smiling and like, I'll be like, hi, oh, thank you. And he doesn't speak, or like, he mumbles or whatever. And like, yeah, it's just not cute. And like getting things that you don't want, I think the majority of us kind of just like either keep them or give them to someone else instead of returning them. But when you're in the shop, it's like you can try on the different things and you can actually leave with the thing that you want. So I think it might become a luxury, and it become a little bit more rare if most places go to the internet.
I just want to ask for you, sorry Sophie, is shopping about like the destination where you go versus what you buy? Because you've been speaking about like going in the store, like for shopping for me, it's just about what I buy. So I don't care where I'm buying it, but it feels like it's more like it's a little bit of both for you.
It's like an experience. It's an experience.
I hate shopping. I do. I actively try to avoid it. I only ever, shop in person if I'm desperate. Or if I've worked myself up with a lot of patience.
What you're saying is so interesting, because you were just talking about how it's going to be experiential now, and people are going to go. But I just feel like I feel like most people feel like you. That's how I feel. Like I cannot now stand to go to shops in person. Like the death of the high street, to be honest, it's been dying for a while in my opinion, and I only really shop for clothes online because I like the ease of trying stuff on in my house, and I will routinely go for a nice little walk to my local post office and send everything back free of charge, and I really like that. And now the thought of having to go to a shop and having to get undressed and take off all my layers and my coat and my taking off my shoes because I want to put on trousers just seems very long. So I really wonder if people are going to really enjoy going back to shops and that in-shop person, because every time I go to shops now to buy something, they were like, it's not in stock. They were like, have you looked online? And I'm just like, well, I came in the shop because I wanted to try it on. They're like, we've got more stuff online. So I don't know if shops can even really compete. Yeah, they do. So I really wonder if it's still going to be an experience for people when most places seem to be putting more effort onto their online sales.
But I think definitely with fast fashion, a lot of the high street retailers can't compete. Like, I'm not even being rude, but when I go in, maybe for example, to River Island and H&M, yeah, I see some cute pieces, but I'm seeing even better pieces on Pretty Little Thing. Does that make sense? I don't feel like I just feel like they can't compete, or they're not with the trends as quick, or their stuff just isn't. I don't like it. But Sophie, I'm a little bit with Luanda. I don't go out shopping as much, but I do like to try on because I'm horrible at online returning. I've never returned anything online.
In my life.
I cannot go to the post office. I cannot do it. And I can't call the number that they say to get someone to come. I cannot do any of it, okay? So I usually keep it in a pile, and whenever my mum goes to Jamaica, I give it to her, and then she gives it to whoever needs it. And so it makes me feel like I'm keeping this, like giving to someone else who wants it.
Pay it forward.
Yes. Exactly.
Guys, that's so interesting, because I just, you always assume that you're the norm. So I just assume that everyone's lining up the post office with me with my 10 million return deliveries to ASOS, Zara, here, there and everywhere. But it's true. I guess that's how they make part of their money, is because some people just can't be bothered, and they're kind of like, they're never going to do it. But I will order like 2 sizes of everything, and then I'll return the ones that doesn't fit. Like, that's the sort of person I am. So that makes it very interesting. But in terms of what it means for our shopping habits now, I read this really interesting article on Retail Essential, I think it was. And it was saying that now should be the time that we're looking to maybe do more experience things on the high street. So, for example, having pop-ups or one-day galleries. Or there was in Catford City Council, I think it was City Council, actually bought out their high street and said they're going to make it into something community focused. So it's not retailers owning it, it's them. And then they're going to use it to kind of feed back into their communities. And I thought that was some really nice ways to think about what the high street can be, and how, how the shopping habits are all going to kind of change now into maybe more experience rather than going to pick up a top.
Yeah. The way that I see it, the reason why I mentioned it probably going a little bit more luxury is because, again, it's like we can order takeaway, but it's not the same as going to a restaurant. Like the first restaurant that I went to when we had that small little break between lockdown 1 and 2, it was like such a great experience. And we were all like, oh, this is great. And we'd been ordering takeaway or we'd been cooking food. And it's like having that experience of being served and being waited on and having it be, you know, something to do is the way that I can see shopping be, because I've watched movies where the rich folk go into the stores and they're served and they're waited on in ways that we have been ignored. And most of the reason why I hate shopping is because I find it absolutely barbaric. Like it's it's a war zone, to put it lightly. Like it's especially Christmas. I remember I shopped one time on Christmas Eve. I will never do that again for as long as I live.
Don't do it, girl. Don't do it. It's a bunch of men outside who've forgotten to buy presents for the women in their life, and they're running around like this. Statistically, that's who it is.
Do you know why? Do you know why I was shopping on Christmas Eve? Because my dad said to me, he was like very casual. He's like, oh, you know, I haven't got your mum anything for Christmas, so can you go
Just proves my point. I just said it.
I had to do all of that on, like, I feel like it was a snow day. If it wasn't, it was a snow day in my heart. And I had to do all of it before I had a shift at work. So then I had to turn up to work and, you know, dress up in Christmas thingies and like dance around and be merry and stuff. And obviously it's very busy because it's Christmas Eve anyway. But then the thing that frustrated me the most is because the place that I was working at the time, we had such an emphasis on 5-star customer service, and I'm like great in customer service anyway, but we had such an emphasis on 5-star customer service. And so for me to go out of my way early on Christmas Eve to be running around these shops with people who weren't even looking me in my eye, elbowing me out the way, and then go and do a job where I'm treating people like 1,000 times better than that, like, it killed me. I will never do it again.
Guys, I used to love working Christmas Eve when I was in retail. It was the best. It was always such a buzz, and they play Christmas songs all day. Like,
working was fine. Shopping is
no, but it's nice even like when you go out to the shops, like on your lunch break, you just peruse because it's like, I don't know.
No, we go to the market. We go to the German market in the lunch break. We're not going to go and like
go to the shop, see what last minute deals you can get. But I will agree. I just want to add to Luanda. I definitely agree that I think it may become a little bit more like an experience, like we talk about what the cinema's like. And you know what? I wouldn't be mad if it was like a real Harrods service. Do you know what I mean? Like where everyone's catering to you and it's lovely. I mean, I would really enjoy that. However, I don't think my local H&M is going to do that for me. If I'm being dead honest, I don't think they will. But it's nice to think that they might. Because Harrods is crazy. I once did a cover shift in Harrods. I was working for a concession and it was like a shoe store. And this woman, obviously she had lots of money, so everyone was all over her like a rash. And she came and sat down and the chair could recline. So she reclined all the way back. And basically she wanted everyone to basically rub her feet, put her shoes on her feet.
I was thinking, rub her feet, did you?
Not I, said she.
Somebody rubbed her feet.
Yes, it's impossible. I was thinking, I'm only here as a cover shift, and this is really not my bag. So I just walked away and sat in the stock room because it's like, you know what? I'm doing you lot a favour, me being here today. I'm not here to be doing that. It's too much. But people do expect that with luxury service.
People get some nerve. You know, really quickly, I was working in a bar and one of my friends spilled a drink on someone's shoe. And then the man tried to get my friend to wipe it up, like bend down and wipe the drink off his shoe. People get crazy. He didn't do it.
Oh, thank you.
He politely declined.
So ladies, I know we've been talking about shops that died a death last year, but 2020 was the year of growth for TikTok. While creators who jump onto new platforms are known to have the most success, I want to know, can you still be successful if you're jumping onto well-established platforms? And is 2021 a good time to start a YouTube channel? And what tips do you have for those who are ready to take the plunge?
2021 is a great year to start a YouTube channel, honestly. Even 2020 was a good year. And for me, I'm not really the kind of person that would say like, oh, it's too late for anything to anyone. And I wouldn't really allow outside circumstances to an extent to dictate to me whether or not I should do something. So I think for people who are trying to start in 2021, the best thing for them is the fact that literally everything is on YouTube. Like, I read that YouTube is the second most used website in the world. And if you're,
search engine.
Thank you. Because, you know what, I have an idea of what the second most used website in the world is. But anyways, if you're looking for tips on how you can start, or you don't really know what you're doing, or, how often you should post or things like that, there are YouTube videos that tell you how to be a YouTuber. Like, literally everything is on the internet. I think, we were in a time where the first YouTubers were starting to make money. They had to figure all these things out for themselves. And now there are YouTubers who are making money off of telling potential YouTubers how to be a YouTuber. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm of the like mind with you, Luanda, in that I never think it's too late to do anything. And I know a lot of people get put off when they think like a market or industry or whatever is oversaturated. But like, if anyone thought that there would never be new artists in music, or new food, new restaurants, or new anything, because you would just get bogged down with, well, everybody else is doing this and there's already this. Like, I think you just have to create your own lane on whatever you're doing. And if it is something that people want to receive, or if it's a good product, good content, whatever, it will do whatever it was meant to do on whatever platform. I think 2021, I guess 2021 is a good time to start a YouTube. Like, do what you want. I think it just depends on what you're going on YouTube to do. And I think you have to be very clear about what it is that you're going to do. I think obviously it's great to go on and try a lot of different things. But now I guess with YouTube, because it's the most used second most used search engine or whatever, people who go to watch YouTube videos, you usually kind of know what video it is that you want to see. And so what's really helpful is the content creator making very clear content on what exactly it is that you're receiving. So it's just making sure that you know what it is that you want to do, and then making that clear, and so your content is kind of clear for the receiver. That would be my only thought.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth there, Anissa, in terms of people finding their niche, because I think now there seems to be much more of a focus on, you can literally type in hair mayonnaise on type 4C hair, how do I co-wash? And the video is going to pop up. So you have to make sure that you're really, look at what's out there. That's what I would say. So if you want to be someone who does a natural hair vlog, look at what is already out there and where there might be a gap that you can fill, because there's no point you coming on to do something exactly the same as somebody else. There needs to be a reason why someone is going to tune in specifically to you. And I would also say making sure it's something that you're passionate about. So I have a YouTube channel where I talk about films and do film reviews because I'm obsessed with film. So I can talk to people about films all day. I can chat their ear off. But if it's going to be a YouTube channel on like makeup, and you don't wear makeup and you don't have an interest in it, are you going to want to spend 2 hours filming your makeup before and after and doing all those transitions? Probably not. So really make sure that you're doing it in your passion area, as some of the key things that I would start off to say.
Yeah, I'm literally just going to echo that, because I think when it's something that you're passionate about, it's something that you can do consistently, and something that they always say is to be consistent. And I did the same thing as you, Sophie. It was like, what is the thing that I can be consistent about? I can talk about current affairs and my opinion pieces all day. You guys have to shut me up. You guys have seen from the show. So that's what I had to kind of like make my YouTube about. But for people who are, questioning it, what I find interesting is, I think these new forms of like content consumption, like social media, YouTube, they're matching, or if not overtaking, the more traditional forms of like television and cinemas and stuff like that. Because we've all had a discussion about a documentary that we've watched on YouTube. We put our show on Instagram and obviously other platforms as well. And it's like, there's so much opportunity in this. Before, it was genuinely just personalities, and obviously you can still go on YouTube and be a personality, and that's definitely an option. But when you have the personality without the passion, it's kind of just like, what is it? You know what I mean?
I would also say as well, just to follow up on something that you said, Lawanda, in terms of being consistent. Consistency on YouTube is number one. Honestly, don't start it if you're not planning to put out regular content. And in terms of regular, in fact, let me start again. If you want it to be something successful, if it's not just a random hobby and you want it to be successful, you need to be consistent, because the algorithm, YouTube is all about the algorithm. If you're not putting out constant content, it's not going to push the things that you're doing. It's not going to drive them towards your intended audience. So you need to make sure that you're posting at least once a week to make sure that you're keeping up with the algorithm, and also to make sure that the content is reaching your audience.
Yeah.
I have to be completely honest though, guys, because when we were talking about New Year's resolutions, and I said I want to do things that I can do for myself. So I started doing YouTube in 2019, and I said to myself, I want to post one video every week on YouTube, which I did. 2020, however, has maybe been like once a fortnight. And, I blame you. I blame you guys. I'm joking. But it is
literally about to say me.
But it is because doing the if I don't do it I try to be like, okay, we did once a week and that's great. But now I'm kind of just like a little bit kinder to myself, and I don't want to push out something that I don't like, and I don't want to post for the sake of posting. And because I'm able to do this show every week, I kind of comfort myself knowing that you did do something weekly, even if it's not your specific channel. But I'm still posting on my channel, but shit.
Do you know what I would say in response to that? And I agree in terms of making sure that you're putting out content that you believe in every week. So what I would also say is set a timetable. So this is something that I saw when I was doing my YouTube, and I don't do every week, and I'm trying to get back into the habit of it, but I did so much research around it, honestly. I'm like, the knowledge that I have that I'm not implementing, that's basically where I'm at. But set a timetable, because there might be, let's say, for example, film reviews. A new film might not be coming out, but you might have different things like, okay, this week I could talk about, best horror films, or top 10 things to watch, or best films that came out in the summer of 2020. So it's also good to set a timetable of various things that you can talk about, so that you're never left, one, without something that you're passionate to talk about, but also an empty week where you're not posting. And I would say also on YouTube, make sure you're tapping into other people who also do similar content to you, and start conversations with them. Like, start writing meaningful comments, making sure you've watched their video. So not something like, oh, great video, but interacting with what it is that they've said. And when you build those interactions, you'll find that other people start to gravitate also to your page, or maybe it might open up ways for you to start doing that cross-pollination and actually doing shows with other people, which is also going to build your brand. Like, YouTube is very much a science if you want to take it seriously, and you have to put in the work in order to get the results.
I think that's something that I did really well in 2019. I actually was able to, I guess I don't know if back catalog is the right word, but I was able to, build up content so that I wasn't stressing week per week. It's like I knew what was going to go, and I had, things prepared, because I was just more prepared. And I was working so much as well in 2019 that I think the reason why I wanted to really do that is because I wanted to make sure I still had a creative outlet, because sometimes I feel like we can all get caught up being busy doing nothing. And that's why I said the thing about, like, if there's one positive that comes out of 2020, it's that everyone had the moment to be still, because that's something that's taken away from us all the time. And so I think that's something I probably need to get back into, like figuring out what doesn't have a time limit on, basically what you were saying, Sophie, because it's like, okay, there doesn't need to be a new movie, because if you're passionate about films and you can talk about films for days, then you can talk about films from the 80s, and people are still going to watch that because there's people on YouTube who watch films in the 80s. Do you know what I mean?
There are lots of people that watch film from the 80s. Let me just make that very clear, Lawanda. Before you're reaching for us 80s babies.
And they all had milkmen.
Exactly. Films and milk. It was where it was at. Best decade ever.
Please don't finish me. But I enjoyed that wording that you used, Lawanda, about people being busy doing nothing, because I think you really can get tied up in doing nothing and procrastination. But this advice that you guys are saying are really touching me deep. Because I, unfortunately, am one of those people, I basically should take my advice because I'm a bit of a hypocrite. I would never say to anybody I do YouTube or will say I have a YouTube channel, because I originally created my YouTube channel as a vehicle just to like put my things that I was doing, like presenter events, on there, so that when I had to submit show reels or something, I could say here's a link to my video, blah blah blah. So it was all like privately listed things. It was nothing for it to be public. And then it was like, oh, I'm just doing this random fun thing. Oh, okay. And so it's like, so basically every couple months when I want to do something fun and random, I may put a video on YouTube, but I'm not pursuing it, and it's not something that I would say I even want to do or to really exist in that space. And I think if you want to also just do it so you can just post fun videos every once and again, you can, if you don't want to pursue it seriously.
Yeah, I think definitely. And I think that's definitely the case. And that's why I was saying it really depends why you're getting on there. Yeah. And if you are serious about it, another thing for me would be to make sure you've got some good equipment. And I think technology has come so far. You don't need to have a separate DSLR camera, if you even know what that is. Like, you can do it with your iPhone, you can do it with your smartphone and really use that. So making sure that you've got a good space, good sound, good camera, because so many people are on Instagram. So many people are on YouTube. If your video isn't at a certain quality, people are going to click off and look for something else, because now we're just trained to, it needs to be clear, it needs to have good sound. So you need to make sure those things are working for you as well. And I think you also need to be your own hype man. Like, know that you're going to have to promote your stuff. It's not going to stay just on YouTube and suddenly people are going to go there. Very few people are overnight successes on YouTube. You need to be in it for the long game and really make sure that you're putting in that time and the effort and building community. Respond to every single comment that people have, because those people are probably going to return. Make sure that you're asking people to subscribe and like your videos. Like, you're having all these different cues, so you're really trying to drive traffic to your channel.
My number one tip for someone trying to start YouTube is that not to get too pressed on having everything. Because for me, it's like I have the idea of the content that I want to create in my mind, and I'm like, I need a MacBook, I need a GoPro camera, and I need and all of these things. But actually, if your content is good, like the things that you're saying or, doing, depending on what you're deciding to do, if that's good, then it's going to work anyway. And obviously you should still think about things like having a stable camera and having good lighting, but you can literally shoot it on your iPhone. And a tip would be that in the settings of an iPhone camera, you can actually turn up the quality of your video. And this is something that I only figured out on accident the other week when I had an audition and they were like, can you film on your phone, but can you turn your settings to 4K? I was like, this is an option? I had no idea. So you can go in your settings and you can turn your camera quality up. Genius.
My number one tip for someone who's looking to start YouTube in 2021 is to never stop hitting your audience with constant reminders, whether that's to subscribe, to like, to comment, to hit that notification bell, just because it drives engagement. So someone may have subscribed to your channel, but they don't like or they don't comment. Or you always in your videos have new audience members, and so you just want to make sure that they remember that to keep coming back to you. So always remind every single video, even though it might feel like you're just being so annoying every minute, be like, make sure you subscribe. It's just about reinforcing it so that you can increase your engagement. So I'd say in every single video, make sure you say subscribe, comment, like, hit that notification bell, and then just an extra share the link with a friend.
I think, I don't know if I've mentioned, my favorite phrase, like my favorite quote is feel the fear and do it anyway, but I've adapted it. Sometimes I need to feel the cringe and do it anyway. And like,
you know what? That's so true, Luanda.
I love that, Luanda.
I have the routine, like when we do the Ethnically Speaking show and when I do my own videos on my YouTube channel, I have like, the process of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I used to put it in my family group chat, but now they actually just watch my videos on their own accord. It feels corny and it feels cringy to tell people to go and watch something that I've made, but feel the cringe and do it anyway, because I've had so many people who have privately messaged me and say something that I said have made them feel, seen or something. And I'm like, and it'd be some random person that I didn't even know I was still Facebook friends with. Do you know what I mean? But it actually makes a difference. And if you're able to, look at your analytics, you can actually see where most of your views are coming from. Because for me, I don't use Facebook as much as I use Instagram and Twitter, but most of my YouTube clicks come from Facebook, because I think I just have that kind of the friends on there who are just in. I don't know. I actually don't know why. I don't.
Yeah, I feel you so much, Lawanda, because I think that was the thing that I was most scared about when I started my YouTube channel. Like, what are people going to think when I start doing these film reviews? Is anyone even going to watch? And my husband really had to talk me, like, to give me the extra confidence, like, just do it. And I think some people, like a lot of my friends, probably aren't into films as much as I am. So some will watch, some don't. But when you keep on going, eventually you really start to tap into people who are into the things that you're into. And I started my YouTube channel doing film reviews probably at the start of 2019. And this year I've seen much more growth than I saw, and it just encourages me to be more consistent. But I got the best comment ever, literally like last week. And someone was just like, I really liked how the way that you review films, the way that you talk about it, because I try to find how is it different from what I'm doing. And I talk around themes and how it made me feel and how does that relate to society. And I'm like, I don't even know if people are interested, but you have to keep going in order to tap into your audience. And like you're saying, now I know the best people in my contacts who to send my videos to every week when I upload it. Some people I don't, some people I do, but you have to just be like, I'm in this because I'm passionate about it. Like, screw everybody else.
I agree.
Thank you for watching and listening to another episode of Ethnically Speaking. Let's keep the conversation going. Would you start a YouTube channel in 2021? And if you would, what would it be about? Let us know in the comments below. And if you would like even more from us, hit the link in our description to get access to our exclusive segment, Extra Ethnic. If you would like a summary of everything that we've spoken about today, head on over to our website, which is unitedmelaningroup.com/ES029. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss a thing. We will see you same time, same place next week. Stay safe and Happy New Year.